I'm going to show you how to produce a contour turn on the Turn 55 from MCO. The first thing you need to do is reference your machine, so close the lid for that and press the reference button. Okay, so that's now referenced. I'm going to move this out of position here by pressing the 6 key. You've got 6 and 4 here on the keyboard, and 8 and 2 for up and down. So I'm pressing the 6, and what I'm doing here is I'm clearing this from the job which I've already put in, because this part here is going to rotate. So the first thing I'm going to do is choose Tool 2. We've actually got the tool set up in the tool post, which is actually labelled here for Tool 2. So I'm going to click in T, choose 2, and then hit Enter. Even if it's set at Tool 2, you have to do this. It has to go and reset itself and go back to Tool 2. So now that's set in there, I can start my programming. So I'm going to go to CAM, and I'm going to go to Unmachine Part. And here you can see all the parameters I need to put in for the unmachined billet. This in fact is just for the simulation. This hasn't got actually anything to do with the programming, but the simulation is important because it tells you if you've got any errors within your programming. So D is the diameter, this is 25mm. L1 is in fact I'll start with L2. L2 is the amount you want to face off your billet. So that's the amount you're going to face off this way. So say I was going to face off 10mm, I'd put L2 as 10, and L1 would be whatever's left on my billet. And L, as you can see from the diagram here, is from the top of the chuck, so the end of this jaw here, to the end of my billet. Okay, so I'm just going to quickly check these with a rule. So I'm not going to face anything off here, so my L2 is going to be 0. L1 is going to be the entire length of the billet, which I've got down here as 86. So I'm going to change L1 to 86. Press Enter. And L, on the bottom here, I'm going to put from here is 73. So let's put 73. And click OK. So this has now changed this. So the red box here is the billet, and the 2 green boxes are is the chuck. Okay, so now we need to draw our part. So we've got the drawing part here, which is CAD, CAM for the cycles, and NC to control the machine. So let's go to CAD, and I'm going to choose this second option here, which is a polyline, so I can draw line to line to line. And now there's 2 ways to do this. You can either manually do this with the mouse, so you can choose to click, and you can see the coordinates down here on the left. You can click, and then you can draw your part and your shape, or you can actually write in the coordinates. So if you want to be a bit more accurate and you know what they might be, you can actually type those in. So I'm going to choose polyline, and I know my coordinates, so I've just written them down. So I'm going to start at 0, 0, so I'm going to click in there. And then I'm going to go to 16, enter, and then -10. So what that's done is this way is minus and this way is positive. So this is my Z0 again. So this way is negative, this way is positive. So I've now gone 16mm down and 10mm in. So now I'd like to stay at this 16mm and then go 60mm from this edge. So to do that, I need to leave that at 16, and I need to then go to -60 on there. And it's taken my cursor down and across to here. And to complete this little contour, I'm going to bring it back down to the edge. So that's going to give me 25, this is a 25mm bar. 25, I'm going to stay at -60, -60. And to take this, this polyline off, we right-click the mouse, and that's now the contour complete. So I am going to go here then to CAM, and here we've got Enter Contour. So I'm going to click Enter Contour, choose the second one down, and you can see it turns orange. So I'm going to click on my line, and it's now called Contour 1. So this allows me to go into Cycles, And on the left-hand side here, I've got all of my turning options. So down here at the bottom, I've got contour turning. So I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to choose the starting position. Now, if you look here on the diagram, the starting position, if this was my original billet here, this here is the starting position at XIZI. So if I click in there and click Insert Points, that's actually this red corner here. So I'm going to click that, and it's put in 25 and 0, which is what I expected. XS is the safety value in X, I'm going to put in as 2. ZS is the safety value in Z, I'm going to put in 2. I'm going to check, I've got no other contours in there, that's just contour 1, the one I've chosen. And it's now asking me for the tooling information. I'm going to use tool 2, leave D as 1. Now the feed rate is different. If you're using the mill, we were setting that to 200. This one you need to set to 0.02. Okay, very important, don't forget that second 0, otherwise we're going 10 times too quick. The speed is 3000. FB is the feed rate if it's coming back on itself. So if you're doing a cut and it has to come back in on itself, you can sometimes choose to slow that down. I'm going to leave that at 0 because we haven't got that in this case. So delta is the amount you want to take per cut. So I'd set this to something like, we're cutting aluminium, so 0.2, something like that. For a finishing cut, use the same tool, tool 2. The feed rate I'm going to just reduce slightly, so I'm going to choose that to be 0.015, and the speed I'm going to increase to 3,200. So it's actually going to move a bit slower but spin a bit quicker. And now it's asking me how much material do you want to leave on in this little delta for that finishing cut, and I've decided to put the same 0.2 as a finishing cut. This is constant surface speed, which I'm going to choose RPM by clicking this, and we haven't got any coolant, so I'm going to turn that off, and then click Capture. What this does is it fills in what looks like solid here, but I'm going to actually go to Simulation, and if I go bottom red to cancel anything, stop anything that's moving, reset to reset anything in the background, and then hit Go, it will simulate what we're about to machine. Okay, and I can move that about and just check. There's no errors come up, it all looks about right. So now I can go on to my workpiece datum. Clicking on NC. Now what I'm going to do is I need to tell it where one of the points are on this billet. So I'm going to obviously choose the edge here. Now I'm going to choose the edge that's furthest away. So I'm going to move this across. Pressing 8 to move up. Now I'm very close there and I'm at 120%, so I'm going to press the minus key and just reduce that down to something more sensible like 10%. Now when you get very close to the billet, it's advisable to spin it at the same time. So if you do touch it by mistake, you're sort of cutting rather than impacting it. So I'm just going to move that into position a bit better. And you can see there that I'm just fouling it slightly. So I don't really want to go any further than that. So I can now set my Z value, click in Z, and this is the amount you're going to face off. Now we're not facing anything off, so that's going to be 0. So I'm actually saying the Z here is 0. Now, if your machine is set up correctly, the X value you wouldn't change, you'd leave that as it is. If your machine isn't quite set up right, or someone's changed one of the values, you might want to check that when you put your cutter on the edge of your work, that it is in fact what the diameter you thought it was. So in this case, we think this is 25. Let's have a little check of that. So we've got 25.254, so that allows for there's a little bit of wobble in there, which is probably about 1/5 of the mil, so you're probably about right. So I'm just going to move the cutter away, just for a safety run-up. Set my feed rate back to 0. I'll double check that my work's in nice and tight. So it's this one. So it's the 6mm, I think it is. Yep, it's the 6mm. Just tighten that up, give it a little nip, that looks good. And I always tend to do this, as I've lost my steel rule. I always tend to do this is to just double check that I've definitely got, in this case, 60mm of clear. So I know that 60mm is going to come to here, so I'm not going to foul the chuck. This will just drive itself into the chuck if you don't do this. So I know I'm going down minus 60, so that's to here. I've got plenty of room there. So I'm going to close the lid, and then I'm going to hit go. So we've got go, stop, pause, faster, slower. So I'm going to hit go. And then slowly increase the speed. And just watch for the first cut. Just check your first cut's not going to be a massive cut. And you might have set something wrong on there. So I've set this down to 2%. Just having a look. That looks okay. Just going to increase the feed rate.